The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I lay in my hospital bed, staring at the message on my phone. Sorry, sis. Money's tight, and we can't help with the medical bills. You should have been more careful driving in the rain. Mom and Dad agree. You're on your own with this one. My sister Olivia, who lived in our parents' fully paid guest house and drove a Mercedes they'd gifted her for Christmas, was telling me I was on my own. The same sister whose college tuition I'd helped pay when our parents' investments took a hit in 2008. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the constant beeping of monitors and the throbbing pain in my legs. The doctors said I was lucky. The truck that hit me could have killed me. Instead, I was looking at months of rehabilitation and medical bills that would drain every penny I'd saved. Miss Porter? A nurse poked her head in. Your physical therapy session starts in 10 minutes. Do you have someone coming to help you get there? I shook my head, fighting back tears. My family lived less than 20 minutes away, but they hadn't visited once in the 2 weeks since the accident. The nurse's face softened with sympathy. Don't worry, honey. I'll help you. As she helped me into the wheelchair, I thought about the last conversation I'd had with my parents. It was at Olivia's 32nd birthday party, held at their sprawling Victorian house that had been in our family for generations. They'd been bragging about Olivia's new job at a prestigious law firm, a position she'd gotten through Dad's golf club connections. Catherine, Mom had said, sipping her champagne, when are you going to get a real career? This financial consulting business of yours. It's not very stable, is it? If only they knew that my unstable consulting business had helped me build a substantial investment portfolio. I'd kept my success quiet, remembering how they'd ridiculed my decision to strike out on my own, rather than join Dad's firm. The physical therapy session was grueling. Every movement sent shots of pain through my damaged legs, but I gritted my teeth and pushed through. The therapist, Mike, was encouraging but realistic. You're doing great, Catherine, but recovery will take time. And it's important to have a support system. I have enough savings. I cut him off. I'll hire whatever help I need. Back in my room, I opened my laptop, determined to at least review some client files. A news alert caught my eye. Morton Financial, my parents' primary investment firm, was facing a liquidity crisis. Their stock had plummeted 60% in a week. I dug deeper, my analyst instincts kicking in. Morton had made risky bets on the real estate market, leveraging their clients' portfolios to buy up distressed properties. Now those investments were imploding. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. Only did you see the news about Morton? Mom and Dad are freaking out. They might have to sell the house. I set the phone down without responding. The Victorian house had been our grandfather's pride and joy. He'd built the family's wealth from nothing, but always warned us about the dangers of entitlement. Money shouldn't change who you are, he used to say. It just reveals it. How right he'd been. Another message popped up, this time from my best friend and fellow analyst. David, check your email. Found something interesting about Morton's debt structure. I opened his email and started reading. My eyes widened as I absorbed the implications. Morton's mortgage division had been bundling their loans and selling them to private equity firms at a discount. Among their portfolio was my family's house, the mortgage they'd taken out to fund Olivia's law school, and their lavish lifestyle. A plan began forming in my mind. I might be stuck in this hospital bed, but my brain worked just fine, and I knew exactly how to use that Morton financial crisis to my advantage. David, I typed, remember that investment fund we discussed starting. I think it's time, and I know exactly what assets we should acquire first. I looked out my hospital window at the setting sun, a grim smile playing on my lips. My family thought I was helpless, a burden they could discard. They had no idea that while I lay here, allegedly broken and abandoned, I was about to become their worst nightmare. My fingers moved swiftly over the keyboard as I outlined my strategy to David. Morton would be desperate to offload their toxic assets. With the right structure and timing, we could acquire their entire mortgage portfolio for pennies on the dollar, including the mortgage on my family's precious Victorian. A nurse came in to check my vitals. "Your blood pressure's a bit high," she noted with concern. "Try to rest." "I will," I assured her. "I just need to finish something important." On my screen, David's reply appeared. "You're sure about this? It's aggressive." I thought about my sister's dismissive text, my parents' absence, the cold calculation with which they'd abandoned me in my hour of need. "I'm sure," I typed back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about taking control. I closed my laptop and leaned back against the hospital pillows, finally feeling something other than pain and betrayal. I felt powerful. The next morning, I had David bring me every document he could find on Morton Financial's assets. Between physical therapy sessions and doctor's visits, I pored over financial statements, loan documents, and market analyses. Morton's desperation was evident in the numbers. They needed to raise capital fast, and they were willing to sell their loan portfolios at steep discounts to do it. I called in every favor, contacted every industry connection I'd made over the years. My hospital room became my war room, with David acting as my eyes and ears in the financial world. Morton's starting to approach potential buyers. He reported during one of his daily visits. They're trying to keep it quiet, but word's getting out. I nodded, scrolling through the latest projections on my laptop. Have our LLC ready. Everything needs to be in place when they start accepting bids. Catherine, David hesitated. Your family, they still haven't visited? No, I said shortly. And soon they'll wish they had. My phone lit up with another text from Olivia. Dad's talking about declaring bankruptcy. This is a nightmare. I left it unanswered, just like all her previous messages. Instead, I focused on the document David had brought me, a preliminary term sheet for Morton's distressed asset sale. The pieces were falling into place. While my family worried about losing their precious house, I was preparing to become their anonymous creditor. Sometimes recovery takes more than just physical healing. Sometimes it requires rebuilding yourself into someone stronger, someone who can never be abandoned or betrayed again. And as I lay in that hospital bed, surrounded by financial documents and powered by determination, I was doing exactly that. 2 months after the accident, I sat in my wheelchair in a sleek downtown office, watching as David finalized our bid for Morton Financial's distressed assets. My legs were healing, but my heart had hardened into something unbreakable. Phoenix Capital Management, I murmured, reading the name on our newly registered investment firm's documents. Rising from the ashes, David looked up from his computer. Final offers ready. $85 million for their entire mortgage portfolio. About 30 cents on the dollar. I nodded, remembering the conversation I'd overheard between 2 nurses last week. They'd been discussing my sister Olivia's appearance on local news, speaking as a concerned citizen about Morton Financial's collapse. She'd been wearing the diamond necklace our parents gave her for passing the bar exam. The same week they told me they couldn't help with my student loans. Send it, I said. While we waited for Morton's response, I focused on my recovery. Physical therapy was still excruciating, but I channeled every stab of pain into determination. The doctors were amazed by my progress. Whatever's driving you, Mike, my therapist, said during one particularly tough session, it's working. If he only knew. The call from Morton came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. They accepted our bid with minimal negotiation. Desperation had made them eager. Within hours, Phoenix Capital Management became the proud owner of over 500 mortgages, including the one on my family's Victorian. I celebrated that night with a painkiller and a spreadsheet, meticulously reviewing each loan in our newly acquired portfolio. Most would be restructured or sold off, but some would receive special attention. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Morton had announced the sale of their mortgage division to an anonymous investment firm. My family was panicking. "Mom, they sold our mortgage. What if the new company raises our rates? Olivia, Dad's meeting with bankruptcy lawyers tomorrow. This is insane. Dad, Catherine, I know we haven't been there for you, but I need your financial expertise. Call me." I deleted them all without responding. David stopped by later with takeout and updates. "The transfer's complete. You now officially own your family's debt." I took a bite of lo mein, savoring both the taste and the moment. Had our management company send out the standard notification letters. And David, make sure my family's includes the new, adjusted terms. "You're really going to do it? They made their choice when they abandoned me," I said, my voice steady. "Now it's my turn to make mine." The next week, as I graduated from wheelchair to walker, my family received their letter from Phoenix Capital Management. Their mortgage rate was being adjusted to the maximum legally allowable amount, effectively doubling their monthly payment. The explosion was immediate. "Catherine," Olivia burst into my hospital room unannounced, waving the letter. "You have to help us figure this out. Mom's having anxiety attacks. Dad can't sleep." I looked at her designer purse, her perfect manicure, her face flushed with self-righteous concern. "I thought I wasn't your problem." She flinched. "That's not fair. We were dealing with our own crisis." While I was dealing with paralysis, I cut in. "Alone. We're family," she protested. "Are we? Because family doesn't abandon each other in hospitals. Family doesn't ignore calls for help. Family shows up." Tears welled in her eyes. "What happened to you? You change." I smiled coldly. "No, I just stopped accepting less than I deserve." After she left, I had David send another letter to my parents. This one detailed Phoenix's new policy on late payments. There would be no grace period, no exceptions. That evening, my father called. "Catherine, please. We need your help understanding these financial terms. Maybe you could talk to the new company, explain our situation, like you explained my situation to them when I needed help." Silence. Then, "We made a mistake. We see that now." "No," I said quietly. "You're only seeing your own desperation. There's a difference." I hung up and opened my laptop, reviewing Phoenix's latest acquisitions. We'd expanded beyond Morton's portfolio, snapping up distressed debt across the city. Every deal made us stronger, more influential. The physical therapist had me practicing with a cane now. Each step was a victory, a reminder that I wasn't the helpless victim my family had abandoned. "Your recovery is remarkable," Dr. Chin said during my checkup. "Most patients take much longer to reach this stage." I didn't tell her that rage could be as powerful a motivator as physical therapy. The next day, David brought more news. My parents had tried to refinance their mortgage, approaching every bank in town. They were denied, he reported. Their credits shot from the Morton collapse. I nodded, unsurprised. "And the house? They've listed it for sale. No takers yet." The Victorian had been in our family for 3 generations. My grandfather had bought it with his first real estate profits, turning it from a rundown property into a symbol of success. Now it would become a symbol of something else, the price of betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "We're having a family meeting tonight about the house. Please come. We need you." I stared at the message, remembering all the unanswered calls I'd made from my hospital bed. All the nights I'd laid awake, fighting pain and loneliness, while they lived their lives as if I didn't exist. "Can't make it," I texted back. "I have a meeting with my investment advisors. Let them wonder about that. Let them speculate about my finances while their own crumbled. Because soon they would learn just how expensive abandonment could be." That night, I sat in my apartment. I checked out of the hospital last week, looking at old family photos. Happy faces smiled back at me, preserving moments when I'd believed in unconditional love and family loyalty. "You were right, Grandpa," I whispered to his image. "Money doesn't change people, it reveals them." My laptop chimed with an email notification. David had sent the latest report on Phoenix Holdings. Our company had grown exponentially, attracting attention from major players in the finance world. But I wasn't interested in their attention. I was focused on one particular asset, a Victorian house that would soon teach my family the true meaning of consequences. 3 months after Phoenix Capital acquired my family's mortgage, I stood without assistance in my office on the 40th floor of downtown's most prestigious building, looking out at the city below. My cane rested against the desk, rarely needed now, except on particularly tiring days. My phone buzzed, a text from David. "They're here." I smoothed my designer suit, a small smile playing on my lips. "Send them up." Minutes later, my family walked into my office. Their shocked expressions as they took in the luxurious space, the stunning view, and my position behind the massive desk were almost worth every painful step of my recovery. "Catherine?" Mom's voice wavered. This is your office. Welcome to Phoenix Capital Management," I said calmly. "Please, sit down." They sank into the leather chairs facing my desk. Dad looked older than I remembered, his face lined with worry. Olivia had lost her polished shine, her designer clothes replaced by something more modest. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched her purse. "You work here?" Olivia asked, her eyes darting around the office. "As what?" "Not exactly." I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall behind me lit up with the Phoenix Capital logo. "I own it." The silence that followed was deafening. That's impossible," Dad finally managed. "Phoenix Capital is the company that bought our mortgage. They're worth hundreds of millions. The latest valuation puts us at just over $1 billion. I kept my voice professionally detached. "Would you like to see the paperwork?" Mom started crying. Not the elegant tears she shed at charity galas, but ugly, racking sobs. All this time, while we were drowning in debt. "You were successful?" I finished for her. "Yes. No thanks to any of you." "Why didn't you tell us?" Olivia demanded. "Why did you let us suffer?" I leaned forward, my hands flat on the desk. "Let you suffer? Like you let me suffer in that hospital, alone in pain, wondering why my family hadn't bothered to visit. We were dealing with our own crisis," Dad protested weakly. "No," I cut him off. "You were dealing with the consequences of your own choices. The risky investments, the lavish spending, the constant need to maintain appearances. And when I needed you most, you decided I wasn't worth the inconvenience." I pulled out a folder and laid 3 documents on the desk. Option 1. I foreclose on the house immediately. You have 30 days to vacate. Dad's face went pale. Option 2. You keep the house, but with the current terms. Double payments, no grace period, no exceptions. Mom's sobs grew louder. Option 3. I slid the final document forward. You signed the house over to me. I let you stay as tenants, with reasonable rent, but you acknowledge that you've lost any claim to our grandfather's legacy. You're enjoying this, Olivia accused, her voice bitter. You're punishing us. No, I said quietly. I'm teaching you what it feels like to be abandoned by family. I stood up, walking to the window without my cane. You know what got me through those weeks in the hospital? Not the pain medication, not the physical therapy. It was understanding that I had to become someone who could never be hurt like that again. Catherine, please, Mom whispered. We're sorry. We were wrong. Sorry because you mean it, or sorry because I hold your fate in my hands? No one answered. I turned back to face them. You have 24 hours to decide. Choose wisely. After they left, David came in. You okay? I nodded, watching their car pull away 40 stories below. Have the papers ready for whatever they choose. And if they go public, try to challenge your ownership? Then I released the documents showing how they mismanaged Grandpa's trust, how they used Olivia's law school as an excuse to mortgage a fully paid house, how they chose luxury over family. The next day, exactly 23 hours later, they returned with the signed option 3 documents. No one spoke as I reviewed the paperwork, my signature joining theirs in crisp black ink. The rental agreement will arrive tomorrow, I said, closing the folder. I suggest you read it carefully. Is this it? Olivia asked, her voice small. Are we just done as a family? I met her eyes, seeing for the first time how much the past months had changed her. The entitlement was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like understanding. Family, I said softly, isn't about shared DNA or shared property. It's about being there when it matters most. You taught me that. And there's no going back. Mom's question carried all the weight of her regret. I thought about the lonely hospital nights, the unanswered calls, the casual cruelty of their abandonment. Then I thought about Grandpa's words about money revealing true character. Going back? No. But forward? That depends on you. They left quietly, the victory I'd imagined feeling more hollow than I'd expected. But as I watched the sun set over the city, I knew I'd done what was necessary, not for revenge, but for justice. Not to hurt them, but to teach them. Money hadn't changed me. It had revealed me. Revealed a strength I never knew I had. 1 year later, I stood in front of the Victorian, its restored grandeur a testament to the renovations I'd overseen. My family still lived there, paying their rent on time, learning slowly what it meant to live within their means. Olivia had quit her prestigious law firm to work at a nonprofit. Mom had started volunteering at the hospital where I'd recovered. Dad had finally retired, spending his days restoring classic cars instead of chasing status. They weren't perfect. Our relationship wasn't healed. But they were changing, and maybe that was enough. Miss Porter? My assistant's voice came through my phone. Your 3 o'clock is waiting. The investors are very interested in Phoenix expansion plans. On my way, I replied, taking one last look at the house. I didn't need the cane anymore. My legs had healed stronger than before, and so had I. As I drove away, I thought about how life's worst moments can become our greatest teachers. My family had abandoned me, but in doing so, they'd forced me to become unbreakable. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about becoming someone who can never be broken again. And I had succeeded at both.